Hello and welcome back to a discussion with I'm Brett Poirier, and today we have a multi-talented guest with us. It's Geena Matuson, who is from Medfield, from the area, and you are now doing all sorts of stuff.
I am.
Yeah. When I say multi-talented, you're an artist, you're a director, you're an author, you're a model, you're a student. I mean, you are everything.
I am everything.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about that. How do you balance it all?
I'm very organized. That's probably why I do a lot of things that people don't even know about. I say I'm like an iceberg of creation because I like to start things. I like the actual organization and the preparation and the planning. That's really where I get to have fun.
Where did it kind of all start for you? Where did you get this like artistic feeling?
When I was 2. Yeah.
Just like everyone else.
How far back?
Yeah, just like everyone else.
No, my mom sat down to teach me how to draw, and then I didn't stop. Yeah, like for real. Everywhere. There was like paper and markers set up everywhere throughout the house. I never stopped.
And so for you, drawing was first, and then it kind of dove into like now you write now. And what was first? Was it film or writing?
Ooh, actually, interesting. It was always writing because we had an old typewriter in my house too. Yeah, and we had a computer too, which was like maybe not super common in 1993. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah. So I didn't know what I was typing because like I was 3, but I liked doing it. Yeah, so I've always been writing. I got a computer for my birthday when I was like 10 myself, just because I love writing. Like that was a huge present. I wrote so many stories. So that came, and then film came. I didn't even pick up a camera till I got to my 2nd year of college.
Wow.
Undergrad, yeah.
Because you graduated with a BFA, a Bachelor of Fine Arts, right? Yeah. In film and video.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I actually went to school initially at Mass Art for illustration. And in that first year I realized, I like to draw, but I really like writing. Why am I here? So I figured out film was the program where I could actually write, so I wrote scripts. Yeah.
Nice. Now from there you went on a trip to Israel, right? And that was awesome. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, let's see. So while I was at school I went to Italy. I got all the I's covered, and then a few years later I went to Israel. Yeah. The trip to Italy was it was not very planned. It was not planned well. In fact, they hired an international travel coordinator. The first time in 20 years they had one when I came back.
When you came back, after you.
Yeah, because I had a list. Right.
Now, that trip, though, turns into a book. So you actually have it with us today, so you can show it off a little bit. So I actually, going on your website, thegirlmirage.com, absolutely. So we can definitely show this. So this is awesome. But this is all photography and writing that you put from here?
It's mostly a photography book, and it introduces you to the different sections, the areas we went with some writing. Yeah,
that's awesome.
A little bit about the trip. Yeah,
I mean, this was all over the place. You have some things that from this book on your website, and so I got to see a little bit about it. But this is absolutely this is really cool to be able to do something like this. Was this the first kind of book you put together? Was this?
This was it was actually. I put together 2 books at the same time.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, because I realized how I got to this point. I guess it's simple enough. I graduated from Mass Art. And then I was freelance web and graphic design, and then I was working at the Hometown Weekly in town here as initially I was designing ads, so graphic design, and they promoted me to production design. So I was laying out the whole newspaper, and I loved doing that because it was organizing, like a whole newspaper every week. So then I was like, let me try designing a magazine layout, and then, maybe I'll try a book layout, and why don't I use my own content? Obviously. So that's how I got to that point. Yeah, and it was, I love design. I love book design.
And now you're up at Syracuse.
Yeah.
And so tell me, what's that like? I read a little bit about your piece. You seem to love Syracuse right now.
Yeah,
you love it.
I do. Yeah, so I moved there for grad school, Newhouse. And I'm going there for arts journalism. And it's awesome. It's great. It's a great place. It's interesting because it is the 13th, something like the number 13 poverty-stricken city, like on that list, 1 to 13.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the country.
Like not a list you want to be on.
Right, not the list you want to be on. Yeah. No one really knows that because they kind of market the city like it's the school, Syracuse University, but no, a lot of news to cover there.
Yeah. So are you covering news in Syracuse? Is that what you're doing?
So it's more, I was in the summer. It was this intensive summer program they call boot camp, and we did all sorts of coverage, so like hard news, things like that. But mostly arts journalism is the arts, so entertainment, music, film. We even went to TIFF, Toronto International Film Festival, in September with my program. So that was really cool. And we wrote some reviews. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Super busy. So you're busy at school, but how do you find time for, like, you have your other book here,
right?
Datalectic, and Datalectic, sorry.
That's okay.
Waking Dream. Tell me a little bit about this book, because this one here, I feel like you promote it a lot, you talk about it a lot, obviously. But is this your baby? Is this the one that kind of, when you put this together, this was your
Yes and no.
piece? Yeah.
It's my baby in that it's the first book I ever really put together myself. I did it at the same time as this Trip to Italy book, but this has my writing in it. It was more an exploration to teach myself how to do self-publishing. And so I put together a bunch of writing from like high school and some college because I thought if I don't really know what I'm doing and it doesn't sell, I didn't miss anything, or no one's missing anything. I didn't lose out. So it's got some poetry stories. I didn't really know what to call them. They're very stream of consciousness. Yeah, so I guess it's in that sense, it's close to me because it's my first book. And so I'm promoting it and I'm learning about how to do that. Excuse me. But I'm kind of revving up for the next one.
Yeah. What's the word here? What is the title? What does that mean to you?
So Dadalectic, it's actually a combination of two words that I crafted. Dadaism, the anti-art movement, politically driven, I want to say, 1920s, 30s, and I always forget. So there's that. Combined with dialectic, or the truth of opinions. And I go into that, actually. There's like a whole page. I don't think you've seen it yet, but there's a whole page where it's just copied and pasted definitions, but I make it look fancy because typography, design. Wow, sorry.
That's
I'm a little throaty today.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yes, design. That was the word I was going for. Yeah, so it's a combination of the two because the entire thing is very stream of consciousness and surreal. And it's not the same as Dadaism, but I like Dada. I kind of put that together. Yeah. Dialectic, Dadalectic, just flows. And it's the truth of my opinions. I mean, everything in here is very much about me, related to me, dreams I've had, observations I've made. So they are true insofar as I have experienced them or witnessed them.
So one of the things I wanted to do was, you've done it a few times now. You've read the poem Pink.
Yeah.
And if you could do that for me, because I kind of want to dive into it.
Yeah.
It's an awesome poem.
Thanks.
I've listened to it a few times now, but it'd be great to hear you read it.
Oh, I can.
Yeah.
Let's find that one. Yeah. Ooh, and maybe I should do this.
There you go. All right.
That's one of the. So it's not just writing, it's art that kind of goes with it.
Right, so I follow you on your Instagram page and everything like that. Is it that type of art that's found in this book as well?
Yes, it's really surreal, digital art, with a little bit of maybe like watercolor overlays, a little scanning going on. Yeah, but mostly digital. And I am gonna find that, here it is. Okay.
Pull it in.
Yeah, pull it in. All right. Pink. You look like pink, like opals and firecrackers, like words describing translucence the eye cannot capture alone, but can only know exists in theory. You are the median, the time, the nothing, the everything. You are the white and the black, just as the black was once white. Don't look now, don't think now, don't now. Well, don't look now, but you did. A flash in the pan, and the nothingness disappears. You wonder why no one asks for you to be there, just tells you the all after, tells you they had fun with their friends while keeping you separate. It keeps you there, alone, where you've been your whole life. Why are you separate? You're like a secret friend. You are a secret, a thing, not even a person, but a dehumanized abstract idea or concept, a nothing of any consequence. An afterthought, really. You are, don't you know that? Barely a thought. A fraction of a second. Pink.
I mean, it starts when you describe this. When you start describing this person, you look pink like firecrackers immediately. This is someone that when they walk into a room, you see them. Like they're an explosion, right? They have so much color. But then the description, like words describing translucence, the eyes cannot capture alone, can only know its existence in theory. I read that line at least 100 times, and I every time I read it, I was like, man, that is such a great way to explain it. Like to say, obviously translucence, like your eyes can't see it, so they can only experience translucence through theory. Unbelievable.
Thank you.
That's so great.
Thanks. Yeah, that's a good line.
Thank you. Where does that come from? Like, where does influence like that come from to be able to write something like that? Is that just right out of your head?
Yeah, I read. Yes. Yeah. Yes. I've always been very dramatic. I try to channel that into words, and not actions. You know what I mean? I read a lot of very old books, a lot of very old writing. Virginia Woolf is one of my favorite authors, and in fact, it was when I was reading Orlando, that first phrase came to me. He, at the time, in the book, Orlando's a guy at the beginning, and he's describing this Russian princess, and he just goes into this beautiful thing, like, you remind me of, well, something like that, like a firecracker, a fox in the snow, things like that. And it just resonated, and I was just kind of went with that. Yeah.
But the poem takes a turn.
It does.
It takes a hard turn.
Yeah.
It's like here you're describing this person who everyone's going to notice, everyone sees, but for whatever reason they don't invite her out.
Right.
They don't invite this person out.
Yes.
They don't tell them to come out, but they feel comfortable enough. What I thought was crazy about it was, because I know so many people like this where it's like you're a friend where they want to come up and tell you about the night they had, but they didn't want you to be a part of it.
I've always been the secret keeper and the healer. I'm not the person you bring out in public. That has been changing. I don't know how to put this. A while ago, I was the person people kept separate as a secret part of their life. They let me see the real them, and they would tell me that. They felt they needed to act and hide and pretend that they were someone else in front of the rest of the world, but they knew, I was very accepting and open, and so they could be themselves with me. And it got to it's like, well, I was part of that secret. So, I knew all these things about them, and they would get self-conscious and embarrassed being fake in front of me, in front of the people they felt they needed to be fake with, So it's interesting. It's like a really bad compliment.
Right, because it's this like I feel like I can be myself around you, but I don't want that me to be appear in front of other people.
Right,
and so
because they're already judging that person, and they don't want the one they feel they can trust to start judging them. Well, why are you being fake? You're a big phony.
Wow. Yeah. And so it kind of the other one is like you're a flash in the pan, and then nothingness disappears. I mean, what was funny about that line for me, or what was interesting about that line for me, was a flash in the pan is usually an insult. It's usually something like, you came in, it's a flash in the pan, but you're talking about taking the nothingness away. Right. So it might be like a flash in the pan, but it's a flash that like you're adding something, and I thought that was really great.
Well, thank you. Well, going back to firecrackers, right? It's like this person comes in, just coming in hot, like an explosion, like a flash in the pan. Because you see them, but you don't really see who they are. You know what? I'm getting deeper. Let's go deeper. You see who you want them to be in relation to yourself, but you don't really see who they are as their own person.
Right.
Deep.
Right. And this is actually a piece from your Epiphany.
Yes,
from when I was reading that.
Related that to the present.
Right, exactly. So we don't have to dive into that too much right this second, but I mean, the poem, when it flips and you wonder why no one asked you to be there, just tells you the all after, tells you they had fun with their friend, and the secret, you're a secret friend, you are a secret, a thing, not even a person.
Yeah.
So you're almost saying, like, people don't see you as a person, they see you as like this thing that they can feel comfortable around.
Yeah, a thing, an entity, like a box, the secret box. I'm like a human secret box, or I was.
So obviously the poems that you write, I mean, to be able to go line by line and see the depth and of all your poems, is everything in here, is that like that? Is each one going to be that deep? And
yes, they're going to be, some are more obscure. I did write about the time I was almost constricted to death by a boa constrictor in the Science Museum. And that's, you might not get that from the poem, but that's what happened. Yeah.
So you don't exactly say boa constrictor, but it's a little different?
I do say boa.
Okay.
I guess I just don't say, yeah, when I was 5, I went to a science museum and this woman dumped a boa constrictor on me and walked out of the room and I almost died. So that.
Yeah. Normal child experiences.
Right, totally.
So we'll change directions here a little bit from the book. You have some short films.
Yeah.
And this is obviously in college, you're studying this, and you made some great short films. You have The Ice Cream for Breakfast, which when I fell onto that one and I watched that, I mean, what a powerful little 4 minutes that is. That is a powerful 4 minutes. But what shocked me was after I watched it, I scrolled down a little further, I find out that that's a true story. Yeah. It's a conversation you actually had. Can you tell me about the conversation? Tell me about what this is all about?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I went to beginning years back when it was kind of near the cemetery in town, Vine Lake Cemetery, and we used to take field trips into the cemetery. And one day, my friends and I were all at the base of this hill just playing and talking, and actually it was Brian. And he said, when in heaven, you can do anything you want. And this one girl was like, can you eat ice cream in heaven for breakfast? And he's like, yeah, you can do anything you want. And we started thinking of all the things we wanted to do that we couldn't do, well, not in heaven. And I just remembered that. I remembered that story. I was telling someone that at the time that I was writing this script. I had to write these scripts for class, and I was like, oh, that's actually pretty good. It took a turn. I kind of made it about, well, I really want to get to heaven. How can I get there?
Right.
That part did not happen with the guns, but yeah.
So you take the story, and what, like an innocent moment turns very surreal and very difficult, and it becomes a very difficult conversation. Anxiety is what I would say.
Yeah.
There's 4 minutes where there's 2 minutes where you're watching, you're like, oh, this is an adorable little conversation with these kids, and then the anxiety hits where a mother has to try to describe to her daughter why she can't go to heaven yet.
Right.
And then she finds out, oh, my daughter's already found daddy's gun, and the story the 4 minutes just takes anxiety, I guess is what I would say.
I don't really like happy endings. I find them kind of boring. I mean, it's very satisfying when that's what you're looking for, like a romantic comedy but telling a story, I just find people say, oh, it's about the journey. We know it's going to end happily because we're invested in this character. But my thought is, I mean, what's the point? I mean, I want this ending that no one could ever see coming, ever. I want people to start guessing halfway through and they think they know. I kind of do that. Well, what would I think if I was reading this? And then I pull it back, like to here, and then I go this way.
Yeah. Absolutely, because there was a moment where you think, like, okay, this conversation is over, and then, she goes, I found daddy's gun, and it's just like, oh, this just started up again,
Yep.
But that was incredible. And definitely, for me, so I'm on the Medfield Suicide Prevention Committee here in town, and so obviously in today's day and age, you didn't write this story we were talking recently, we started talking a lot about suicide.
Right. This was 2011, 12?
Yeah,
12.
so it was 2011, 12, and this conversation of suicides didn't really come up until probably 2015, 16, something like that.
Very public.
And so was that something that came to mind for you? Was that image of that conversation of suicide, or do you use it now and say, like, hey, this is an important piece for people to watch?
I've tried kind of submitting it to things like the one where it's like, what's something? Well, that wasn't helpful. But it's like where they put, you submit important little videos and something like that. I did want to get the word out because I thought it has a bigger meaning than just here's a surreal kind of cool story. Ooh, what's going to happen?
Yeah, absolutely.
It would be nice if that gained traction. I recently met someone who did try to commit suicide last year. And their rope, this was kind of fascinating. They woke up in the hospital. and the doctor said, we have no idea how this is possible, but the rope you used had been singed. They found you on the ground, the people who called the police, but we have no idea how that happened. It wasn't cut, it didn't untangle, it was singed.
Wow.
And it was this big moment for him, and he ended up getting a job working at a suicide prevention hotline. Now he's a manager.
Wow.
It's just, so he tries to send the message to others. Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So we'll take our step back and right-hand turn.
Sure.
We'll talk about the foamercials.
Yes.
So this is now the opposite
Comedy.
side. Yes,
Right.
This is now the opposite side of you, right? So
Yeah.
there is the drama, the dramatic side of you, but also you have these foamercials that are
Yes.
honestly hilarious.
Thank you.
So you have
Yeah.
they're to tell people what they are. They're kind of commercials that you've designed like off of other commercials that are real, but then you make these fake products.
Right.
So how did you come up with this idea? Where did that come from?
Well, I guess I'm really quite funny. I know that sounds ridiculous to say. I'm very funny.
Yeah. I'm the funniest person I know.
Right?
I say that all the time.
Yeah,
I'm the
totally.
funniest person I know. I love it.
Definitely. And it's just, I guess it's that, yes, I understand our reality and I can be deep, but at the same time, you can't take everything so seriously. I mean, come on, you know? So I thought, well, I have all these funny short scripts. I was initially putting together a new portfolio for a new job, something that had to do with editing or creative direction. So yeah, that's how I just put those together. I love commercials. I love advertising. Who says that? I don't know. I love it. I can remember my favorite commercials from the 90s. Yes, there was a great Hooked on Phonics commercial. It was I don't know why, I just loved it. All the mattress commercials, love them.
I love
just
purple
the
right now.
jingles.
Purple's my favorite. The commercial that I've been hooked on at this point is Purple. It's like this weird mattress commercial. They drop the eggs on it and stuff. So that one gets me every time. But yeah,
I have
commercials
Netflix
are awesome.
now, so I don't see too many commercials.
Yeah.
I want to get back into them though. Is that ridiculous?
The Super Bowl, right? The Super Bowl is your Super Bowl.
Right?
Yeah,
Commercials.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But so you have the Dump Trump.
Yes.
That's the Orbitz commercial kind of, right?
Totally Orbit style,
Yeah.
yep, with the toilet paper.
With the Trump toilet paper.
Yeah.
The Best a Man Can Get, which is like Gillette, right?
Yeah.
And then the other one was the Depends commercial,
Yes.
which I love the Depends commercial because you had also like the behind the scenes kind of look as well, which is also on like your Instagram page and stuff like that, which I love that. That was awesome.
Thanks.
There was such an awesome, it looked like you had a great setup too.
Yeah, we actually filmed Rock and Roll Ribs Barbecue. What was that?
Oh, right over here.
Yes,
yeah.
that's where we filmed it. Yeah, we filmed
Okay.
both of them there, the Depends and the Gillette, different setups. Yeah,
Ah,
so that worked out. Yeah,
all right.
great lighting.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
No, because the setup was really cool. The whole thing was awesome.
Thanks.
But where did you come up with those ideas and to be able to do that?
Oh, I'm doing that all the time. Like I can watch a commercial and just make a joke about it, and I finally started writing them down.
That's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah.
That's I think one of the biggest things for people is with your ideas to write them down.
Yep.
Is just start writing them down.
Yeah. Whenever people tell me they have a problem or they have something on their mind, or I always say, you need to write. You need to write things down, because we have this need where we constantly repeat things over and over in our heads because part of us doesn't want to forget, even if it's painful, even if we think it's stupid. We're just gonna keep going. And writing it down kind of gets it out. It's that like, oh, well, if I need to access it, it's right over there. But the great thing is, then you can get the really cool stuff down on paper too.
Right.
Yeah. They always said in school, keep a little notebook and a pen with you. Yeah.
And so let's tackle this, because this is obviously I feel like this is the big part, is the Girl Mirage.
Yeah.
Right. So tell me about the Girl Mirage. Tell me about how that came to be and kind of what it is.
Well, it's funny. It was 3 years ago now, and I was trying to figure out what exactly I did, because I do a lot of things. And I thought, well, people could say Geena Matuson, but what is that? It just didn't feel like I had a consistent brand. I got really into design and branding. That's when I was doing more design work for others and contract work. And I thought, I need a name, like a brand name. So this is funny. I don't remember the line of thought, but I was looking at someone's website, Natalie Off Duty. She's a model and a singer. And she has this whole blog where she writes when she's off duty from modeling. And I thought, oh, that's so brilliant. I can do that. So it's my art, but it's also all this other stuff I do. And then, you know, is my art who I am? Am I art? Art is life, all that, you know, whatever. But it really helped me focus on what I put out there and how to present it. I think giving me the name helped me present my work. And the name came to me because I thought, well, I need a name that resonates. It can't just be, I don't know, like an air freshener. I don't know. It has to make sense, right?
Yeah.
So I started thinking about the work I do. It's very surreal. Everything's an illusion. I very much focus on perception. And so I thought, hey, what are some synonyms? Because perception, that's a big word. You know, we don't need that. So illusion, mirage, and I kept coming back to mirage. And it wasn't enough. I came to the Girl Mirage. And one of the first books I wrote in high school, which I have to rewrite because it was high school, but the character, her name was Girl. And I just always felt like girl, you know? It still freaks me out. I'm almost 30 and people are like, oh, woman. They like say, you know, you're a lovely woman. And I'm like, who? Like, are you talking to me? Like, that's so weird. Yeah, to me, I'm like the girl over there, the Mirage, the Girl Mirage. And conveniently, it's my initials, GM. Just worked out.
Yeah. I actually, like, the whole website, the Girl Mirage, when you go to it, your branding is very specific. 'Cause I chose my color scheme for you.
Thank you.
Right? It's the pink and the purples, and your art is very specific to you. But there was a moment I feel like you were really excited. It was on your Instagram. It was on your Facebook. It was this Jelly Belly magazine.
Yeah. Jelly Baby.
Jelly Baby
magazine,
right? Jelly Baby magazine,
that's
something
right.
like that. You were issue 11, volume 1.
Oh, yes. Wow. Yeah, good.
I know.
Good.
I know. I did my research.
Yeah.
So Jelly Belly magazine is art and photography publication featuring fun and colorful babes of all shapes and sizes from all over the planet.
You really did your research.
I tried.
That's
I
their
did.
thing. Yeah.
I did. So why was that important to you? What was that?
It was exciting. It was fun. One of my friends had her modeling published in it. She posted about it. I was like, oh my God. Color, vibrancy. There was a lot of surreal imagery, a lot of very cool photography. And it was one of my first publications ever. It was one of the first publications in which I had my art. It was awesome. Yeah.
And so, like, was that, like, for you, like, almost like vindication? Like, my work is coming out, like, and it's out there now?
Yeah. In fact, it was just like, that sparked a whole chain reaction. And then I was published in Circle Arts magazine. It's a long, Circle for the Arts, quarterly winter edition. It's published in that next. And then after that, I had my work in, and I never say this word right, and it's French. It's spelled maintenant, but I think it's maintenant. Maintenant, volume 12, Dadaism, writing and art. And that all happened in the span of 3 months at the beginning of 2018.
Wow.
Yeah. And
so
I was
2018 was a pretty good year for you.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah. So that's a cool thing. And then let's talk about, as we go through the end of 2018, you have what you call an epiphany.
I
and
did.
So this is from your blog.
Yeah.
And I will say, reading your epiphany was really interesting because I don't think everyone has epiphanies. Like, I don't think everyone has that moment. Yeah. So you got one, right? And did you feel special when you had that epiphany?
I felt very special.
Yeah. So tell me about the epiphany and tell me about what kind of happened.
So, okay, let's see. It's weird because, you know, you read a thing that I wrote, but then I know me. So I'm like, where do I start? You know?
One of the things I always hate, and you might relate to this, is once you put your opinion or thought out there and then it changes later on.
Yeah,
like I almost like, like when you complain about something happening and then it changes for you, but then that person still thinks you're mad about it. And I'm like, oh, I hate when that happens.
When I had a MySpace as a teenager, right? Yeah, that happened all the time.
I think all of us could be like, when I had a MySpace.
Right, yeah. What else happened on MySpace?
Exactly.
Yeah, over time I kind of got to the point where I'm like, let me mull that over before I put that out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I spent a month really putting this together. Well, it started, let's see. Yeah, this is a big one.
right? It was long. The whole
long.
thing was really long. So December 4th was the Epiphany itself.
So we'll backtrack from there.
Right.
Good.
Right.
So what happened was, like you said, you saw my posts about living in Syracuse now, and I've learned that the locals call it Syracuse, not Syracuse. So I've been like, tailoring so it's Syracuse. Anyway, okay. So I first moved to Syracuse, and I thought everything was magical there. You know, everyone talks about the energy that the lake has, and because it was this old Native American lake that they've completely polluted and you can't use it, but the energy. And I was like, oh, that must be it. I've been consistently happy for 2 days, and then 2 weeks, and 2 months, and that has never happened in my entire life. And just the people I was meeting and the places I went, and just everything just came together. You know, I didn't feel like I was outside looking in for the first time. I was in. I was on the front lines. People were telling me things before they were even happening. That was new. I just felt like, wow, everything is aligning for me. And, you know, I just made a ton of friends, and I just knew all these things happened. It was just like a whole awakening. You know, I was there in the summer of 2018. That's when our program started. And over the next few months, things were going really well. In fact, I am starting my own business, and that's a whole other thing I'll tell you about. But that was going really well too. It was an idea that came to me before I started school, and they have this big Blackstone launch pad, this big entrepreneur development center, and that's what I've been doing there. And I was like, wow, everything's coming together. I'm meeting all these artists, and I'm meeting all these really cool writers, and all the people who own venues, and they all work with the fact that I want to work with artists, okay. And then we get to like October, my birthday, and I met someone. And there are people, you know, people come in and out of your life, and I always think there's a reason. There's a reason for everyone who's in your life. Even if it's, you know, to point you in the right direction down the hall, they had to be there at that moment, you know, because you would have been lost, you would have been late for your meeting, and then nothing would have happened, yeah. So I met this person, and we were kind of like an explosion. You know, we just got together and we started talking about the future, and it was just amazing, and oh, we have everything in common. It's ridiculous. You know, we like the same Scooby-Doo movie, you know, the one on Zombie Island, and we knew all the songs to it. Who knows those, right? And I owned the DVD, and I put it on, and we were both like, wait. We were in the middle of a conversation, we were like, wait. Let's get to that part in the song, then we'll talk again. And we listened, and we were like, yeah, this is a good song. I mean, it was ridiculous how much we had in common, and I just felt like, oh, this is my other
Very
part.
Specifically what you had in common.
That is always what I say. Very specific things in common, yes.
Right.
And it just felt right. But, you know, he was dealing with a lot of stuff he hadn't dealt with yet. And he thought, and I thought, we both thought, I had my stuff together, right? You know, I knew I had things to work on in my life and things to work on from my past, but I had no idea the extent. So I'm just giving you a little build up, and then we'll go in. So, yeah, we got to this point where I realized, wow, I am putting a lot of pressure on this person. You know, it was maybe all the future talk, but it was also this idea like, you represent me. You know, it's like your family members versus the person they're dating.
Right.
Like, I don't care what they do, I care what you do. You have my name, you know. It was one of those things, and I realized that I was projecting a lot of my concerns onto them about how people view me, how people view others, how they would perceive me. Could I get this job after that? Could they take me seriously if I did this? Would they respect me if I did that? So many things. And, you know, he said the same thing to me, that he had the same when he's dating someone. But it was a very different dynamic because he was going through this big life-changing experience I didn't know. It was a lot of confusing things at the time, and we weren't really getting what the other person was saying. So we took a break, and it was kind of amazing. Here's what happened. Stuff happened with his family, and I wasn't really listening to it, and I was dumping how I felt onto him. And the next night, I cried really hard for like 30 minutes, and I don't ever cry. Like, that's not a thing I do very often. It has to be very big. And I knew I wasn't crying about him, but I didn't know what it was. So that was the only thing I could say. Well, like, something's going on with that. That night, I had a dream that I was literally expelling demons from my body. It was intense. I mean, you should have seen these demons. And it was like slow motion. It was a child. It was a child expelling demons from her body, but you knew it was you know. And her parents couldn't see. No one else could see the demons except her. And when she screamed, because she saw a demon coming at her, she was an empty vessel. There was a lot of emptiness in her. And when she screamed, a good demon, not an angel, but like a good guy, came into her body to occupy that empty space to combat the demon and expelled it. Oh my God. I woke up from that dream and I was just like, everything is so clear now. It was weird because how did I get that? But I processed it when I was sleeping. And I woke up and so I said to this guy, I said, and it was the same advice I needed to take myself, but I didn't see it yet. It was like I was getting it. I was so close. And it was like, you know what? You've been projecting so much ego that you haven't had time to heal yourself. All that energy is going there and not into you, into that empty space. And I know that in order to really focus on yourself, you need to put your walls down. But to put your walls down, you need to be in a safe space. You need to feel like you're not being persecuted. You need to be able to do what you're gonna do, in this time. And I said all that to him, and I was like, you know what, the pressure's off. Like, let's just have fun. Like, be you. I'm here and I support you, and I'm sorry. But he was dealing with other stuff. We drifted. We're still whatever we are. But, he's doing his thing. And that gave me time to really focus on me. I was really introspective, and I was like, that's when, December 4th, all of a sudden, it came to me one night. It was ridiculous. I woke up again, and I had another dream. I don't remember what that was, but I woke up, and I thought, oh my God, that's me. That's me. Syracuse, sure, it's a great place. Yeah. But what I realized was being there at 28, it was the first time in my entire life, legitimately my entire life, when I had been in a safe space consistently. I could put my walls down. I could be myself. I could process my emotions. I could process quite literally an entire lifetime of pain and abuse and emotions and things that as I got older I started to push aside because I thought, well, no, in order to feel good and not empty, to feel fulfilled, I'll throw myself into my work. And that doesn't work at all, because it's like, and I wrote this in the post, but it's like a pressure cooker. Yeah. And we're filling that emptiness with what we think should go in there, with work, with things that other people tell us will make us feel fulfilled, but it's not, And unfortunately, when something good comes along, we want to put inside of ourselves. We have to lift that pressure cooker lid. And then all this stuff comes out that we had stuffed in there that we didn't want to deal with. So it's this huge mix, and I realized that's what happened to me. Years and years, a lifetime of stuff coming out that I had worked through little by little, steam escaping the pressure cooker, but there was some big stuff in there. Whatever you put in the meat. Yeah. What do you do in a pressure cooker? Rice?
Meat.
I don't know. Sure.
Yeah, it's like a meat. Yeah.
All right. So there was the meat. I needed to get to the meat, right? So that was the epiphany. I was like, all this stuff I was telling this guy and projecting onto him and seeing in him that he agreed with, he needed to work on, was me. It was entirely me. It was everything that I needed to do for myself. And it's crazy we can't see that about ourselves. Right. And it sucks. Yeah. But I'm glad I got to the point where I could see it. And all these other things kept coming out. I was telling people this epiphany. They weren't prepared for it, because I come in hot,
You're a firecracker.
I'm a firecracker, yeah. And, they were like, oh, whoa. And, I made someone cry. It was bad. They were like, oh, I didn't know that's what you were, like, where you were going with your story. I'm going through that. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Yeah. Like, I didn't think about the emotional space they were in when I started the story. That's also important. You can't just I mean, I was projecting again, right?
Yeah.
When I was telling this epiphany, I was so excited. Oh, listen to this profound. Maybe you can relate. And everyone can relate, it seems, which is even crazier. So, you know, the feedback I got from other people, their stories, led into me doing more research, this push-pull dynamic in relationships.
So that was going to be the next thing I wanted to ask you, because the push-pull relationship was something that I thought, I've heard that a lot.
Yeah.
You know, you hear that a lot in a lot of relationships, is like when you start giving to someone and they kind of pull away, and that means the more you give to them, the more they want that. And
well, what's interesting is you're calling it giving, but is it pushing? That's the, and I always thought it was giving, like I'm giving so much and I'm doing all this stuff for them, and to someone who they can't handle it, or they need that space. They process things differently. People process things differently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It says, so I went to, you posted with your Epiphany, you posted the articles that you kind of went to. Intimate relationships can go south when partners get stuck in a pursue-withdraw cycle. In this push-pull dance, one partner seeks greater connection but grows increasingly critical when connection is elusive. The other partner seeks greater autonomy and increasingly withdraws in the face of complaints and pressure. And that's from the 7 Ways to Overcome a Push-Pull Dynamic in Your Relationship by Dr. Dan Newharth. He also says magic can happen when pursuers can tell their partners, I feel vulnerable, lonely, and afraid, but I know you are not the source of those feelings. And it says magic can also happen when the withdrawers say, I feel irritable, trapped, and smothered, but I know you're not the source of those feelings.
Yes, that was a good summary, because that's a longer, that's a long, you know.
Yeah, it's a long essay.
But
yeah, the top and
that was
bottom.
good. That's exactly what it is. Yeah, it's all about communication.
Right, exactly.
But you need to know, you need to be able to put words to that, to communicate it.
And isn't it interesting, like you're an artist, you're someone who works with words all the time.
I love words.
And isn't it amazing how difficult it is to just communicate with somebody though?
Yes, it is.
It's still, like someone who is so powerful with words, you know, you can write the poem Pink, but to sit and kind of connect with somebody, it's really difficult.
I always say you don't know what you don't know, you know? Right?
Exactly.
It's how do you... It's frustrating. I can't find the words now to talk about how frustrating that is. And it's like, it's so simple. It's right in front of your face sometimes. You know, you read this article, oh, yeah, that's what happened in all my relationships. Yeah. But how do you...
And from your blog, you put the conversation rushed back. It hurt to think about this exchange. It hurt to acknowledge how much I hurt someone else, someone for whom I care. Apparently, half of the adults in the world have attachment issues. I feel like that's a shockingly low statistic.
I think that was in the article, maybe, that statistic. I read it among my research.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like something like 51% of adults have attachment issues. And I was like, that feels really low.
Yeah.
I feel like everyone kind of has attachment.
So when you wrote that, my first thought in my head was, that's not a low statistic. I feel like that's a high statistic. You know, here I am looking at the world, the glass is half full. But then I thought about it, I was like, but 50% of marriages don't work, right? Like,
right.
You know, and then from those marriages, the kids, you know, they grow up in a broken home, and they, you know, and the statistics show that. And I was like, that is a low statistic.
Right, yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
But no, it's wild to see the epiphany as it kind of grew on you, to see the actual essay that you wrote. I'm going to call it an essay.
Yeah.
The essay that you wrote kind of takes you through your relationships.
Yeah.
You know, you had a couple of relationships in your past that you wrote about.
I reached out to someone from 10 years ago. I had that epiphany. It was all about rejection and fear. I can't believe I didn't say any of that when I was just relaying it. But yes, it's all about rejection and fear, right? The pushers don't want to be rejected. They're afraid of rejection. And the pullers are afraid that if they speak up, they too will be rejected. You know, so I reached out to someone that I didn't realize I had rejected 10 years ago. You know, someone I thought who rejected me, and then we started talking again. And it just all came out. Very well spoken. It was very calm, and we're just like, wow. And I felt this way, and you felt that way. I sent them this article. They were like, that's entirely what our relationship was. Right. But we didn't know how to put it into words.
Yeah. And then you had, at the very end, you had a conversation with your mom. And that was pretty wild.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that one.
Well, she knows everything about me. So
As does almost everyone else.
Right, yeah, right. Now the world does, right? Yeah, she was one of the first people I called. Well, she was the first person I called this Epiphany. And so our relationship had always been very strained because it was abusive. It was bad. I mean, because she was abused and the cycle just continues. And last year, 2017, so like 2 years ago now, we went through this big breakthrough. You know, we realized what her ACOA, we talk about it very openly because it's really important. A lot of people don't understand what this is, adult children of alcoholics. It's a very specific way of communicating, or not, struggling. A struggle for intimacy. I'll leave that there. People can read my blog. But, you know, so we've always had a weird relationship, very strained. Finally, it came out what her problems were. She started talking to people about it. I've obviously been talking to people about it. And that really helped heal us, open lines of communication. So I told her that I think even just living with her, living with other people I've lived with, I've always had my walls up and I've never been able to process these things. And she too, I'm not living at home and she's painting now. It's definitely, it's letting go, putting the walls down, like finding out who you are. And she was like, wow, I'm so proud of you for coming to this realization. Yes, maybe you were projecting and all these things. And you know, it was funny because she's like, you know, it's funny you said all of this. And because I said, I really have to, I've been hiding from myself. You know, people thought maybe I was on a pedestal, a lot of people said, but I put myself there, projecting. And she's like, let me read you something from this book. And it turns out it was a book of affirmations she had found in the attic again. She happened to read December 4th, and she read it back to me, and I was just like, oh my God. I mean, I was swearing in disbelief. I was like, oh. Because I had quoted that passage, almost in its entirety, unknowingly. I mean, about, you know, don't hide from yourself, own who you are, all these things. And, you know, she took a picture of the page, sent it to me. I was like, wow. And it happened today, December 4th. Yeah. That's kind of crazy. So yeah, and she was encouraging me. She was like, do what you need to do. Like, be a human. Get yourself off the pedestal. It's incredible. Yeah. You know? Yeah.
How do you think now this epiphany happens? Yeah. So what I tried to do is I looked back at your art before the epiphany, and I kind of went through and I started looking at your art after the epiphany. Which obviously there's a short window there of the stuff after, I was like, you know, it's only like a month. But I definitely saw you started posting more of those self-portraits, and you started doing more tight shots on your face. And do you feel like your art is going to change now after the epiphany?
Wow, that sounds so awesome. Do you think your art will change after the epiphany? I love that. Yeah, I actually do, because I started going back through old projects that I started because I like organizing things, but I hadn't finished. And I found all these things that I was like, why did I abandon this? So yeah, definitely. You will be seeing stuff that I had started a while ago, I'll bring back. I started drawing again, which I haven't done in years. Very long time. Yeah. Yeah. So it feels like I'm reconnecting with myself, my real self. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Thank you.
Has your writing changed a little bit? Now that you put pen to paper, have you done that since?
I'm writing more. I have not written in so long. I mean, I take screenshots. I'll copy and paste some stuff I post on Facebook, like, oh, that was very profound of me, you know, but nothing like when I used to write in high school, you know. I could go home from school and sit down and write 50 pages. Nothing at all. I was writing stories just about me, just, you know, and separately from me, just everything. And so in the last month, wow, have I written a lot. I mean, I have written at least 100 pages. I can say definitively. Yeah. Thank God we had a school break.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you feel like, what's more personal to you, the pictures, the photography that you take, or writing? Is there one that
I think the writing.
The writing is, yeah.
Because I always say you can say in one word what it takes a painting. So I don't say that. That came out wrong. Let me try again. What do I always say? I always say it takes. You can say in one word what it takes 1,000 paint. No, why am I getting this wrong? Wow, I must not have said this quote in a while. I'm quoting myself. So I always say, it takes, a whole painting to convey what just one word can convey.
Right.
And that's really why I love writing, the immediacy, the concision, So I can say a lot more in, 100 pages. I mean, who knows? It's open to interpretation with a picture, but I like to get my point across.
Right, right. When you put pen to paper, it's your words
Yeah.
versus when someone interprets your art.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You got it.
So I want to end on something completely different.
Sure.
So as we talk about this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up my trusty laptop
Sure.
here. I'm pulling a page from, I watch a show, it's called At First We Feast.
Okay.
It is an interview show, and one of the things they do is they do a deep dive on someone's Instagram page.
Okay.
And they ask you to describe it,
Sure.
to describe what we're looking at.
Yeah.
So this is actually your very first post for the Girl Mirage on Instagram.
Yeah.
And tell me a little bit about what's going on here.
This was, I was just playing around with making a trailer for my new branding, and I was just having a lot of fun. So I love confusing people. I think that's why wordplay is really fun for me. And now you add some images, they don't know what's going on. It's all surreal. I like hidden meanings. Mm-hmm. So this was kind of funny. It's a reflection of myself. And what's a reflection in a mirror? A mirror can be a mirage, an illusion. It's not the real thing. So yeah, it all goes together. Yeah.
So as we have here, you look like Pink, like opals and firecrackers, obviously from from Pink.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I love about your website, and we talked about this off camera, was it is you. You are just totally out there. There's nothing that you hide.
Right.
So tell me about posting this. This is a picture that I would be ashamed of posting of myself, right?
No.
But you put everything out there. It's amazing.
Well, I was also an artist model for a time, and it was a painter who had great disdain for being called a photographer. He would take photos and use them as reference. That was the extent of his photography. So he gave them all to me. And he said, let's collaborate. I'm giving you all your photos. Make art. Do what you want with them. So I did. And I have over 30,000 photos.
Wow.
These were 5-hour modeling sessions. Yeah, we did that for a year and a half. Yeah, so it's a lot. So yeah, I guess I'm not ashamed because I modeled.
No, it's not something to be ashamed of. I think,
afraid of judgment.
Yes.
Yeah, going back to the fear. I know exactly
Absolutely.
what you mean completely. Yeah. And that's where shame comes from, the fear of judgment, right?
Yeah.
I feel like,
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
And so it's interesting because it's interesting. The difference between using words and images is if someone were to call you out on something with an image, if someone were to interpret it incorrectly or in a certain way, you could say, no, that's not what I was going for. You were wrong.
Right.
They put that beneath them, elevate themselves so they don't feel that rejection, that sense of judgment. So you can that's open to interpretation. You could say whatever you want about it. With the writing, my opinion.
Right.
It's written.
Right.
So I think there's also that distance that we create. Aside from the fact there's a camera there and I'm not really standing in front of you, that distance too is the fact that, it's open to interpretation. Think whatever you want.
Right.
I know what I mean.
Would you say you're quicker to post something that's an image than you are to post something that's words?
Yes. Yeah. My words are very considered.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've learned many lessons.
Which, you say that, so one of the things that I actually love going through your pictures on Instagram is your hashtags. You have very specific, very good hashtags
Thank
you
you.
go through.
Thank you.
So here's another one.
Yeah.
The strength in the space, the path down which you never venture. It's easy to be comfortable, better than the devil you know than the devil you don't. They say a palatable excuse so you don't have to deal with the real, but I don't know. I've always liked meeting new people.
Yeah, it was, I like to rhyme and I secretly like to rap so it's a very rhythmic writer. That's me. So it's like, better the devil you know than the devil you don't. They say a palatable excuse so you don't have to deal with the real.
Right.
I love that. Yeah, so it's like you stay comfortable. It's like a hidden message,
Right.
Stay comfortable in this situation that you think is good, that you think is okay, that's fine. Like the dog sipping coffee with the house on fire, right?
Right.
But no, deal with the real. I'd rather meet that new devil. I like meeting new people.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So here's this one. I thought these images you did were awesome. The actual like design here with the almost like broken digital.
Yeah, right. Glitch.
Can you tell me a little bit about the glitch, how you did it? I don't want you to reveal totally your work.
It's very fine. It's actually Photoshop. Photoshop, what did I do? I think, honestly, it was a Photoshop smudge. Done.
Really?
One and done.
Wow.
Yeah, right?
Super easy. Okay.
Right?
And you too can. But no, this was really cool. I mean, I think that you did a really cool job with this to make it kind of look like the digital there.
Thanks.
You know, again, your leather boot, hashtag leather boots, hashtag witchy things.
Witchy things, yeah.
This one.
That's a fun one.
So not only is it the buy my art please, right, but the glitter beard.
Yes.
The glitter beard, the epic glitter beard.
Yeah.
Tell me about the glitter beard.
So this is cool. I know an artist named Kurain. He, a few years ago, was putting together a calendar. He has a fake, it's sort of like a TV personality. He does a funny show with artists called Coloring Kurain. And he was putting together a calendar, and he asked a bunch of artists to collaborate with him and in their style portray him. And so this was one of the images from our shoot. And this wasn't the one he used. He used a different one, a very surreal one. But yeah, we had this whole idea. I'm all about surreal. So we covered his beard in awesome, beautiful chunks of purple glitter. And he had on these bright blue glasses. And we just put a curtain behind him, and we were doing all these cool effects. Yeah, I made a whole series on that. The Kurain Circus, I call it. Yeah.
That was awesome.
Thanks.
And then here we are at, this is what I was talking about, these pictures. A very clear difference between what you did before and where you're at now with this. This is a very, obviously a beautiful, self-portrait. And, you're talking about your 2018, but tell me a little bit about what makes this so different for you.
It's, I took this photo after my last final in class. I was tired and I didn't know what to do with myself. I hadn't taken photos of myself in like a few years. I really hadn't. You go like with friends, like a selfie, but I hadn't really taken the time to do this. And I was feeling very tired. And when you're tired, I guess your defenses are down, you're very open. And I felt like capturing that. Yeah, that's me. There's no like filters. There's no no real editing. You touch up a little under the eye, but what do you know? But there's, it's me. Here's who I am. I'm being very open. There's no weird, surreal, squiggly head and paint marks and whatever. It's here I am. That's what you meant, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's exactly. Completely.
That's what I meant. It's what you meant, right?
That's what I meant. Yes. That's what we both meant. Yeah. Yeah. So very real. Like.
Yeah.
I'm open now. Like I really feel like there's no mask. I have a big mask collection, like an actual mask collection. Yeah. From Italy. It's cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But Geena, I think that your whole Instagram, but your website, thegirlmirage.com, people should definitely check it out. What are you plugging right now? What are you doing right now?
So right now, I am working on, like I said, freelance web and graphic design for years. So now I'm making that an official business. It's been going well. It's called Art Inspires You. I will be launching in the next month. It's digital services for artists. Eventually a quarterly juried magazine, because I love those. The Instagram gallery, then physical gallery shows for artists. I just love working with artists. I love promoting them. And, I'm an artist, so I have that background, that understanding. And so that's what I am doing right now. I'm really, or what I will be diving into. I've mentioned it here and there, but get ready for Art Inspires You. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. This was an awesome interview. We finally got to do it.
Yeah, I
was excited about it.
Me too.
But thank you for joining us, and come back anytime, whenever you're around. Right?
I will.
Yeah,
thank
absolutely.
you. Yeah. Do we shake?
Yeah, absolutely. We can shake.
You.
Of course we can. Yeah. Right. And thank you all so much for watching today's discussion with Geena Matuson.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Pink. You look like pink. like opals and firecrackers, like words describing translucence the eye cannot capture alone, but can only know exists in theory. You are the median, the time, the nothing, the everything. You are the white and the black, just as the black was once white. Don't look now, don't think now, don't now. Well, don't look now, but you did. A flash in the pan, and the nothingness disappears. You wonder why no one asks for you to be there, just tells you the all after, tells you they had fun with their friends while keeping you separate. It keeps you there, alone, where you've been your whole life. Why are you separate? You're like a secret friend. You are a secret, a thing, not even a person, but a dehumanized abstract idea or concept, a nothing of any consequence. An afterthought, really. You are, don't you know that? Barely a thought, a fraction of a second. Pink.
You're watching Medfield TV, community shows.